Welcome, Marky Marks, to another wonderful Rawcast. My name is Blake, and to my right or left, or we never know how this darn thing works, is Will. Say hello, Will.
Well, hello, everybody. Hope you had another week, and I hope you're ready to listen to another awesome edition of the Rawcast.
Agreed. Also, my dog is here. You can always follow us on Twitter. We're going to get started. This Raw was a little bit different, and I'm going to put you, well, I don't know. We'll put you somewhere. Because this was a take-home Raw, and for those not familiar with the term, that was just basically getting you ready for TLC. So we'll discuss Raw just a bit. Oh, I was very confused about what was going on there for a second.
Oh, sorry. I had to clear my throat.
Okie dokie. So, Raw this week was a little different. Because of the go-home show, it wasn't quite what I would say would be your regular type of Raw, because you're just trying to squeeze in so much so fast. Also, remember, you can always put your comments down below. For me, there wasn't much to it. I wish there was, but you did have a really awesome segment as we got ready for TLC with Bray Wyatt talking about the rocking chair for 4 minutes. And so basically he went on this rant of, that's what my sister used to sit in, Dean, and you broke something special to me, and now I'm going to break you. And then Dean came out with an awesome ambulance that kind of looked like Rob Van Dam and Swagger were in the back of it smoking a whole bunch because it was completely fogged out inside. And it took a little bit for Dean to come out. But once he did, he made an impression. But I think one of the most important parts of that segment for me was at one point Dean's doing what he's been doing here the last few weeks, grabbing things out underneath the ring and throwing them in the ring. He accidentally, after he had hit Bray over the back with a chair, Bray had laid in the middle of the ring, and Dean's throwing stuff in. His first chair he throws in, smack, right in the back of Bray's head. Like, there was no way you could miss it. The commentators didn't miss it. Cole and King are laughing. JBL tries to cover it, and he says, well, he's just a man that has good aim.
JBL always has the best comments.
Agreed. And so for me, that's what made it for me, because it was broke. There was no way to recover that. But I don't know if Dean knew, because Dean just kept throwing in things. Just Bray had a hand over the back of his head for the rest of the segment. But other than that, that was the really positive thing for Raw. The really negative thing for me was the Cena promo, not because of Cena, but because I don't think they quite knew, hi Hezekiah, where they were going to go with it. They had him starting off mentioning the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. No, your dogs are jealous that mine's on screen. Yeah. Like, he brought it up saying, well, Vince McMahon says no one in the locker room is stepping up. But he didn't mention that Vince said that he's the only one that has stepped up. And then proceeded to go on to say, well, maybe it's time I step down and let somebody step up, which the crowd got all behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, but if you're waiting for that, you're never gonna see it.
And then, again, that little hint of Cena heel turn that he teases every couple months, it seems like now, even though it's probably never going to happen, he is just playing with us again and again, making us wish it would just happen, you know?
Yeah, and for me, that's what killed me. Was okay. We're super excited to talk about this. Oh, never mind. And it even got the crowd there to boo him, where you even heard a little boy shout that, Cena, you're worth nothing! Which makes me wonder
The
if
little
that's going to
Jimmys
catch
are
on like
turning.
Warfare. They're turning. Well, maybe they're growing up eventually, and so now they're not going to like him anymore. I want to just publicly state I respect John Cena. He's done really awesome work, and he's about the only one that's held the workload for this long. And as Steve Austin said in his podcast on Thursday of last week, it really feels like if anything, if Cena was to turn or what was supposed to happen, there's no one to take his spot. But
Yeah.
I don't know whose fault that is.
Yeah, that's hard to blame. You don't know if it's supposed to be towards Triple H or if it's supposed to be towards Vince. The blame's got to kind of lay on somebody specifically, maybe a couple people. Who knows? And that's what Austin's kind of saying is what's going to happen when Cena is done. Maybe he's reaching the end of his prime in the next 2 or 3 years, and that's why they're building us up for. Who's going to be stepping up and grabbing that brass ring, as Vince calls it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I sit here and I go, yes, his character is boring, but he's doing the best he can. And I think it's the office that refuses to create anybody else bigger. And one of our friends in our group showed us something this week when it came to the new video game, and the Super Best Friends Let's Play said a really good comment that John Cena is basically Vince's creator wrestler. I mean, that for me was probably the best thing you could ever say.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. It really is spot on.
And so we'll just have to see what happens there. But for me, those were your 2 points of Raw. That was your high point with the promo. That was your low point with Cena, where they just weren't sure what they wanted him to say, and it just didn't sell. So, and before we move on to TLC, I want to talk about something else, and that was the huge news this week, which was Punk with the UFC.
Again, Punk broke the internet. Again, what is that, 3 weeks in a row now?
3 weeks in a row.
He broke the internet again, and the big announcement came out last weekend's UFC matches. He had an interview there with Joe Rogan at the end of the event and publicly announced that he has signed a multi-year contract starting in 2015 to be competing in the UFC.
Which I think is really cool. But what do you think of the person that's made the most stink about challenging him?
Oh, Mr. Tommy, the Green Power Ranger, has come out. He's always had a little bit of a grudge against CM Punk. Who knows why? Kind of similar personalities. I can see that as far as their fighting careers go. But he came out and he's already calling shots that he wants to be the first to step into the octagon with Mr. CM Punk.
Yeah. Now, there's been other people saying, oh, I want this, or why is he here? We were talking about this with our who's a huge UFC fan. Personally, Will, where are you on UFC?
I used to watch it years ago, more just because my brother forced me to watch it. Never really got too far into it. I was watching back in the days where you had Chuck Liddell as your top guy, and he's been out of the UFC picture for years now. So I really have not kept up with their product over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and she was basically saying that he didn't start up from the system that he gets to start in UFC. I mean, it's a money-making decision, and it's not like they're going to put him in, this huge program. They're basically just going to start him from the beginning. But he's a good money draw, and it's smart business from UFC and White and everybody. Though this meme that you found just kills me.
Exactly, because we all know that CM Punk really bashed on Ryback in his podcast with Colt, and I mean it's probably true. It's less painful to be in the UFC than to wrestle Ryback.
That's a good point. Well, plus at the same time, you got to think like people are getting upset. They're like, well, why don't he can't handle that? How can he handle UFC? UFC is not every like 4 days out of the week. He can train. If he gets really beat up, that's okay. I think he'll have a good career. This also was a great meme that you found. I really, really enjoyed this one.
The picture says it all. Vince apologizes on the podcast. Punk comes out, says, yeah, his apology was basically just a bunch of bullshit, and then this meme comes out.
that for me, it was for me was just a whole bunch of fun, and that was the second part of the podcast. It hadn't came out when we did the Rawcast last week. He wasn't as upset this week. Fox News that WWE once again. I don't know. Punk just basically said there was all kinds of times when I had sponsors where they just give it to other superstars because they didn't want me to have the only power. They want me to be the only Slim Jim stuff. So, I think Punk's getting over it. I wish him the best of luck in UFC. I'll probably watch it. I'm probably not going to buy it. I'll do it if it has.
No, I'll go somewhere and watch the first match, but I probably won't be buying any UFC matches in the near future. I'll go somewhere and watch the first, maybe 2 Punk matches, see how he does.
Yeah, well, I can't remember or not, but I think I remember hearing that even Brock lost his first match. So I don't know if that's right or not, but I'm not expecting Punk to come out there and just blow everybody's minds. But I'm interested to follow this journey along with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, good sir, tell me a little bit about this one.
Oh, tables, ladders, and chairs, and now stairs. Thanks to, I guess, the big guys needing something unique to throw at each other, which we see every week on Raw and SmackDown. Why not make a match out of it? I don't know what's going to be new. I don't even know what the rules are with the stairs match, but I guess we'll find out.
I bet they just can use stairs. Though, when I first heard about this, I told you that I was confused and I thought they were putting them all in one match, which is basically TNA's Full Metal Mayhem, where they use the tables, the chairs, the stairs, and the ladder. And I went, oh! But it's just basically its own match. So, yeah.
So, that pay-per-view is coming up this week. It is this Sunday, of course, on the WWE Network. No shameless plugging here, though. It starts off with the pre-show. The pre-show is going to be the debut, I guess, of the New Day faction, whatever they want to call themselves, against Goldust and Stardust. We don't know which of the New Day members are competing, since there's 3 of them, but there will be at least 2 of them competing.
Here lately, they've been doing rock, paper, scissors in the ring to determine who's got to be in the ring, which I'm sure is a total work, but still it's funny to watch. Oh, speaking of works, before we get into past the pre-show, this not the chair. The chair was great. This right here was the best way to know that the Slammies were about as big as a work as you could get.
Yeah, guaranteed, because where was Daniel Bryan Why was he not there?
I I have no idea. And like for me, the superstar of the year probably should have been Dean or Seth. But you know WWE, they're all about Roman Reigns, and that was the big thing on the second Punk podcast was everybody kept telling him, make sure you make Roman look good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, he's really good, but he never got over that top limit. And now he's been gone for a couple months with this hernia injury that he did or whatever in his intestines. And out of nowhere, he wins the Slammy for Superstar of the Year. Do we not remember the Yes movement at all? I don't know.
It's for me. I don't know. Roman has potential. He has the look, but he needs to be more polished. He also needs more charisma on the mic. I noticed that there's a lot of ladies that like him. Play that up. Be like your cousin The Rock and play up that the women like you.
Flirt with the ladies in the crowd.
Exactly. If you don't, there's no way to make it work. Okay, that was my little tirade. Continue on with TLC, my friend.
So, like I said, we have the New Day versus the Dust Brothers in the pre-show. Also included in the matches that night, we got a chair match, Ryback versus Kane. Corporate Kane, Demon Kane, I don't know. Maybe it's just going to be called Chair Kane. I don't know.
Okay. So, excuse me. So that one right there. So it's a chair match. That's all we know.
That is all we know. Like I said, it's kind of a disappointing Raw. They really put this pay-per-view together, most of these matches this week. Kind of a really slow build up towards it, and then just got rushed all at the last second. But other than that, we also have the stairs match, of course, that is brand new this year. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's Eric Rowan versus The Big Show in a traditional chairs match. And like I said, we see this every week in Raw, SmackDown, NXT, you name it. What's so different about using the stairs in this match? I mean, is it just going to be ridiculous stairs nonstop? I don't know.
And for me, I enjoy watching the big wrestlers wrestle to a point, but there's only so much you can do with two big guys. Big Show has, I mean, he's paid his dues in the ring for years and years and years and years and years, but he's going to be slow.
Yeah. Especially against Rowan, because he's a new superstar. He's really getting a big push all of a sudden. They're calling him Big Red. I don't know if they're going to get him sponsored by Bubblegum or not, but he is Big Red. He's a big guy. He's fast. He's athletic, and he's really impressing a lot of people. Now he's going in the ring with a slower, bigger, future Hall of Famer that's near the end of his career in a first type of a match that's ever been held.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for him, but we'll see how it turns out. Though for me, Big Red isn't what he is. For me, he's always going to be Lamb Chop, but that's just me. So,
all right, and then we move on to one of the longest-going storylines in WWE right now, and that's, of course, the Russian monster Rusev, the U.S. champion, versus Jack Swagger for the U.S. title.
And this one's a little interesting. Where do you fall on this one?
I have been so mixed with Rusev matches since his, I guess, about 2 months into his domination. He's still undefeated in regular singles matches. And, there's rumors, he's building up to a big match at WrestleMania. Who knows who it's going to be against, but I've always thought, okay, this is the second time that Big E's faced him. Big E will get the best of him. Nope, I was wrong. Oh, this is the third time Big E faced him. He'll get him this time. Nope, I was wrong. And this is the third time, I think, for Swagger, or fourth time that he's had a chance to go against him, and I'm hoping he does do it, but at the same time, I think it'll be too much of a letdown right now since they've built Rusev up this much.
I really don't see him losing yet. I don't see him losing until Mania. Had it been the first time that he'd win against Swagger, I may have agreed. But for
Yeah.
me, yeah. But for me personally, I sit there and I go, they've already shown that he can beat Swagger.
Right.
And if you can show that, then for me, I don't see a threat.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this match a couple times already. Who knows what the threat's going to be if he were to lose against Swagger. I think he'll keep his belt. I don't know if the rumors of Cena going again, because it seems so weird for Cena to step down to a U.S. title match. I mean, maybe Rusev won't. I don't know, because it'd have to be for the U.S. title if he goes undefeated all the way and faces Cena for the U.S. title at WrestleMania, and it doesn't seem like Cena would step down that far, but maybe, that's what's going to happen. I don't know.
I don't know. There's always the possibility if Brock was to lose the belt before Mania that Rusev could win the belt, and it could be like a Goldberg situation where he held both belts for like a week and they stripped him of the U.S. title.
Right.
But I don't know, and I personally don't know Brock Lesnar's schedule, so I can't say that we're ever going to see him until probably Rumble.
Well, there's rumors he's supposed to be on Raw next week.
To
So we will see.
Well, we're going to be talking about this upcoming match here in just a second.
Right.
But it could just be to be like, oh, hey, you're the new number one contender now, or you're still the same number one contender. I'm not afraid of you.
Exactly. So after the Rusev match, this is a big card for the pay-per-view. They've got a lot of matches booked into this. We got Nikki Bella versus AJ for the Divas Championship. It's a rematch from the last pay-per-view, and this, of course, is it a TLC match? Am I right?
I believe it is. I'm not sure.
Either way, it's a Divas match with Nikki Bella. There's not much to say about it. With the rumors of AJ possibly, ending her career in WWE, this might be the last pay-per-view we see her at. What do you think is going to happen?
For me, the only time Nikki is a credible threat is if it was a pool match because she has flotation devices. Outside of that, I don't really care about Nikki Bella in the ring. You can't make me care about this chick.
Again, along with most of the WWE main roster divas, we're not invested in it. We want to get invested with, can't even think of the name, Natalia.
Yeah.
And then once she gets built up, they just give her a stupid gimmick where she basically farts, and then, oh wow, we can't take that seriously.
Oh boy, that ridiculous gimmick.
I'm never going to forget that one. But yeah, this match, no one's too much invested in it other than people are going to tune in to see if this is maybe AJ's last big moment in WWE. We don't know yet. Rumors are this is the last one. She'll be gone. Walking off into the sunset with CM Punk.
And I don't know. I wish her the best if that's the case, but I don't know if she's going to leave yet, and I don't think Punk would ever ask her to because he got to follow his dreams. So he would definitely encourage her to do the same. And I think she could still give us another good year if she wanted to.
Oh, easily. Easily. That's why I say I don't know where she's going after this, but either way, good luck to her. If she does leave, if she's still sticking around, I look forward to still being an AJ fan. She's the top diva still in WWE and has been for easily the last couple of years.
And she did win a Slammy, and what I thought was cool is she talked about the people that she thought were like her that dreamed of coming up, and she thinks like Bayley in NXT, people like that should hopefully win that Slammy in the future. Really put over talent that most of the casual viewer doesn't even know exists. But I also look at AJ, and before we move on this one, I don't know where WWE is going, if you have to be part of Total Divas, they're never gonna put her on there.
Definitely not.
and and so I sit here and I go, well, if they're gonna go that direction, then you're probably right. This might be the last AJ match. Even if she has a whole bunch more to give, if they're not gonna put her on Total Divas, and this next season or half season or whatever, they're introducing Paige a part of it. So pretty much that's everybody but her, I think, and Emma.
Yeah. Anyways, we move on now to a big one that a lot of people are going to could possibly steal the show. It's the Intercontinental Championship match with Dolph Ziggler versus Luke Harper. And yes, it is a ladder match.
This one is probably potentially could steal the show just because of Dolph. He can sell his butt off, though I haven't seen a whole lot of Luke's solo career to say where this would go.
Right. I'm a fan of Luke Harper. He was always, out of him and Rowan, Harper was definitely my favorite of them. I think he's got great in-ring ability. He's got good moves. He's definitely got a bright future, and so this is going to be a big moment for him to also step up. And, I think they're going to be one-upping each other in this match. They're both going to try to outdo each other. Dolph, of course, being the senior of the two. Should be a really good match.
But does Dolph win this one?
That's the hard one. It is really hard. Because he's won the Intercontinental Championship so many times and loses it right away. I'm gonna say yes. I think Dolph will win this one. I think this will be another big pay-per-view for him to have two shining pay-per-view moments in a row. I don't know really if he'll go on to defend it later in the next pay-per-view at Royal Rumble or not, But I think either way, Dolph's going to definitely shine in this match.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's going to shine. I'm curious if this is finally his time, his quote-unquote push that they're trying to go for this time, or do they just feel like he's such a solid of a worker that he can win some good ones and then he can lose too?
Yeah. It's hard to say. I'm going to go with my money on Dolph Ziggler in this one. I think it is his time. No more one-week title reigns. I think he'll be a reigning Intercontinental Champion, and then we'll see some bad news come back, and I think we'll have a nice little feud there.
I like that idea. I had actually kind of forgotten about Barrett, which is sad, and I shouldn't. But I would like to see that again. They had a decent feud the first time.
Right. So we always got that to look forward to if it does happen. Either way, that match I'm predicting is going to be probably the second match, because we all know it's going to be one we're all looking forward to. We'll get to that in a little bit. So after that, we got the Tag Team Championship match with probably one of the best things in WWE right now, with Damien Mizdow doing his awesome little gimmick. But they're facing the Usos this Sunday at the pay-per-view.
And this match is exciting mostly just because of Mizdow. He even won a Slammy because of his performance. But what was great about that, when Miz accepted the Slammy, they were saying, "We want Mizdow," and Miz responded with, "I know you want Miz now, and I'm right here now."
Yeah, so that little gimmick they both have going on. I mean, Damien plays it up really good. Miz plays it up really good. I'm glad it's happening. I hope they keep them together for at least a couple more months. Maybe that'll lead, if they lose the belts, who knows, but maybe they'll lead to a feud where they face each other at WrestleMania. But I hope it goes on until at least then, because this is one of the best parts of Raw week after week, is the Mizdow relationship.
Agreed, and I'm looking very much forward to it. I think it has potential to actually outshine Ziggler, even though Ziggler's will be more spectacular. I think the crowd will enjoy this one, which is one more for Vince, who says it doesn't matter about wrestling, it's entertaining, and this is the one I have to give him.
Yeah, exactly. So that we got that match, and then we got, of course, Dean Ambrose, the psychotic guy, versus Bray Wyatt in a traditional TLC match.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how I feel about this one because it was about the what do they call him again? The fringe?
I think that's what they've been calling him.
I can't remember. But this one, I think, because of their awesome promo that they cut on at Raw, and they've been building it up since the last pay-per-view, which was a little different to have him climb up a ladder and sit there and not fall off, but whatever. Dean, that is. This one could be... Well, this one is the TLC match of the night.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it. Having really good matches like Ziggler, like the tag, and this one, for me, would make it worth buying the network just for this pay-per-view alone.
It's worth your $9.99, along with other things happening this week. If you didn't know you should spend the $9.99, this is definitely a good week. I mean, you got this pay-per-view, and of course you got the NXT pay-per-view we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's well worth your money this week.
Yes, really is, and I'm really looking forward to this one.
And then I don't know, if that'll be the main event of the night or if it's going to be Cena. I have a feeling it's going to be the Cena match. But we have the table match: John Cena versus Seth Rollins, and stipulation is if Cena loses, he loses his #1 contender shot at Brock Lesnar's championship.
Which I think the only reason they put this one in, just me personally, is they had to have something to make it interesting.
I don't know about that. I mean, it is interesting. It's definitely one of the most intriguing things. Like, it's got a good little gimmick attached to it, a stipulation.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Everybody was saying, oh, yes, John could lose. It's not going to affect him. It's not for a title, nothing. Oh, but it's for his contender shot, which has been put on hold since, what was it? What was the last pay-per-view they had? Was it Night of Champions?
Yeah, I believe so. And that's what I mean with that's the only reason they added that to make it interesting. For me personally, I could care less if it wasn't a #1 contenders match.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's a good match. Plus, with the rumors, like we said, of Brock Lesnar possibly appearing the next night on Monday Night Raw, will he be finally telling Cena, all right, you want your match, you did good, you earned it, let's have a fight at Royal Rumble? Or is he going to be addressing an empty, vacant spot for a new #1 contender? We'll find out.
Yeah, and, I mean, maybe Brock does a run-in. I don't know. I also don't know if that counts as a date if Brock does a 2-second run-in.
Right. If Paul's there, then yes, it's a date.
Okay. Well,
everybody
then
has to have that threesome, I guess.
Yeah. So then, probably most likely we won't see a run-in then. But I would love for Brock to cost Cena the #1 contenders. But then you sit here and you go, well, even if Seth becomes the #1 contender, he still has the briefcase.
Exactly. So, I mean, Seth doesn't need that #1 contender title, He's got the briefcase. He's basically a #1 contender anytime he wants to be. So, that's the only reason I can see Cena winning it. However, I would like to see somebody cause Cena that, vacant #1 contender spot, whether it be Brock Lesnar or maybe somebody else comes out. I don't know, but I would like to see Cena lose that and see where he goes next if he can't be in the title picture, maybe that's where he does go after Rusev for some reason. Maybe Rusev causes him the match.
See, that's interesting. My fear is they bring back Orton, make him a heel again, and he costs him the match.
I forgot all about Orton. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. This pay-per-view though does get me a little bit more excited as we get ready for Mania. The Raw itself kind of got me excited for TLC, but TLC itself is exciting enough. So that's Raw itself, not so amazing, but everything else I'm excited for.
We'll see where it's going. And I guess, like I said, we got a good reason to spend $9.99 this week. Not only do you have TLC, but you also have NXT Revolution, which is tomorrow night on the network. And we're going to kind of briefly talk about this one. There's pretty good matches in it. It's not a huge card, but there's some definite interesting matches happening in this one.
And I don't think we can talk about it without talking about the name.
NXT TakeOver R Evolution?
R Evolution.
Yeah, I don't know. They named their pay-per-view so weird. I'm getting tired of the TakeOver theme. What is this, the third or fourth one in a row that's had the TakeOver? Now it's R Evolution?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be R Evolution.
Yeah.
Is how I heard it pronounced on the WWE Network. Ridiculous name. Now, if they're going to call their pay-per-views takeovers, fine and dandy. But at least give them a better name than R Evolution.
I think TakeOver needs to be left out of it. I'm done with takeovers. I mean, we haven't taken over anything yet. If you're going to take over something, go challenge the main roster, then call it TakeOver.
Now,
that's my view.
The only thing I didn't like about Raw when they promoted this one, they brought out Charlotte to face Natty, and they put Natty over.
Yeah, that was kind of weird booking, especially since everybody was thinking Charlotte was going to be making a main roster debut sometime soon. But yet, Natty easily goes over her and defeats her.
Yeah, that was, oh my gosh, that just got me kind of upset because that's exactly what Vince did when he said he was, quote-unquote, helping ECW when Taz was the champion, even though he was hired by Vince, to face Triple H, and Triple H went over.
Exactly. So that was weird booking. But anyways, let's get on to the pay-per-view. It is tomorrow night on the WWE Network. And, of course, one of the big things that I'm interested in is the Corey Graves announcement. He's supposed to make some kind of announcement regarding his career. Could it possibly be retirement? We don't know. Could he be announcing his next match? Maybe.
I don't know. He could be announcing when he gets on Raw. We've had some friends say maybe he's the one in the bunny costume, which, God, I hope not.
That would be a big letdown if that is the announcement. So Corey Graves has a big announcement. It's going to be, I don't know, at the beginning of the show or halfway through it. They just say it's going to be on the pay-per-view tomorrow. Expect him to make a shocking announcement.
We have that announcement, and we also have an awesome debut tomorrow.
The debut of not Kevin Owens. Or wait, it is Kevin Owens. See, I was just thinking about it.
I did too.
It's Kevin Owens. It's not Kevin Steen.
Yeah, it's Owens. It's Owens, named after his son, who he named his son after Owen Hart.
Exactly. So it's gonna be cool. Making his big debut. I guess he's gonna tell us finally in person why he's there to fight.
I just hope he fights. I don't care if he doesn't even say a word. He just goes out there and hits him. And here's what I think could happen. He's going to cost Sami Zayn the title.
Possibly. That would be a big shocker because I was talking about this with you earlier in the week. His last promo thing that came on the last episode of NXT, there's a good little promo talking about all the indie guys and the indie places he's been. He's been with this guy, WWE took him first. He's been with this guy, WWE took him first. And he called out Sami Zayn. Sami's my best friend, but WWE took him first. and that was the one he really put a lot of focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see him coming out and costing Sami Zayn the match. Of course, Sami Zayn's in the NXT Championship match with Adrian Neville again, but this time Zayn says, "This is the last time. If I lose, I'm done. I'm done with NXT."
And he says he's done, but I think what they could do is he's just done with the title and goes after, man, I want to call him Steen. But maybe he wins, and then Owens comes out there and tramples him over.
Yep. So that's one of probably the big highlights is everybody's going to be watching the Sami Zayn match. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to be waiting for the Kevin Owens debut.
Agreed. And those are going to be the two top ones. The Corey Graves is a good announcement. Also, the Charlotte match. Do you think they're going to move her up to the main roster right after this one?
I don't think so. I talked about this with you earlier in the week. I think I honestly think she might possibly lose the match. But she's definitely not going to move up to the next roster, whether she win or lose. She'll be staying at NXT for at least a little bit longer.
You think so?
Yes.
I'm not so certain, because they're going to need divas. And if this is AJ's last match or something very similar, they're going to need someone that isn't on Total Divas yet to help these divas out. Jim Ross thinks that Charlotte Flair is the best women's performer he's seen in 6 years.
Mm-hmm. And he's not the only one that's been saying that. Lots of people are giving high regards to the great Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte. She has been impressing. She's been getting better week after week. A main roster move wouldn't be surprising, but I don't think they're going to put her there just yet. I think she's ready, but I think they're going to hold back on it.
They could, and I would be all right with that. So for me, those are the main things I'm looking forward to. Maybe it's finally the Ascension's time after this takeover.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Is it Finn Balor is what they're calling him. I don't like changing the indie names, but we got Finn Balor and Hideo Itami facing the Ascension, which what many people think the Ascension are getting ready to move up to that main roster spot, so maybe Hideo and Balor finally take down the Ascension.
It could be, and maybe that's New Day's mysterious opponent.
Could be, exactly. And then, of course, the last match of the NXT R Evolution pay-per-view is for the Tag Team Championships, the Lucha Dragons versus one of my favorites right now, the Vaudevillains.
They're a fun little heel tag team.
This is what they do.
and I really enjoy them, but I can still get behind the lucha thing too. So, which was very smart for them to make that a chant when you have Lucha Underground using the same thing. So I will say hello and tip of the hat to Dusty or whoever, Dusty, Triple H, and whoever else runs the NXT brand.
That seems more of a Dusty thing. Oh, let's just yell lucha.
Yeah. Come on, baby.
I can see Dusty doing that.
Come on, baby. You're lucha. I don't even know what that is, baby.
Way better impersonation than me. Good job.
So I don't know. The pay-per-view itself, I think, takeover or whatever. For me, that's the best part of WWE for the last almost full year.
All right.
The pay-per-views are solid. The story you don't even need to completely follow. They do a good job of telling it in the ring. Now, another thing I will say, we talked a little bit about Finn. I am curious because they had rumored that he'll paint his face for the big events.
Mm-hmm. And that's what he was in his promo on NXT this week. He said he called out the Ascension and said, "Hey, you're gonna see something you've never seen before from me." And then of course the crowd started yelling, "Body paint, body paint." So who knows? I can see him doing it. And I hope he does do that.
I think that would be the way to go. I'm curious how WWE might have to limit him, just because a lot of his body paint were Marvel Comics related.
Exactly, like the body paint of Venom and Carnage. It's awesome
Didn't
body
he
paint.
do kind of a Punisher one too?
I think he did do a Punisher one, yes.
But that also could have been an anime skull too, and I'm sure I'll get crucified later on for that. But I think they're just gonna have to be careful, but hopefully he's creative enough to work around it. And I think he could. I mean, if he did a blue Carnage, that's not. Yeah, that's kind of Venom, but if he did it right, you would know.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a cool thing. Let's see. Is there anything else we need to discuss with NXT?
I think that covers everything with NXT R Evolution tomorrow night. And of course, a couple days later, we got the TLC pay-per-view.
And the TLC, I think, is going to be pretty decent. You can definitely follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Mark Madness. We will be talking about it just a bit. Will, show your Twitter one more time for him.
It's right there, Will Rawson, at Will Rawson.
Yeah, we had to do that because last week I gave his Xbox handle. So that was my fault. But if you
I did get a random Xbox person that added me as a friend, so maybe that's where they got it.
Well, I mean, we'll take it. We'll take it. This is also my Xbox handle, so just saying. So we're really excited about TLC. We're on. Let's just do a quick rating system. Where would you rate Raw this week?
Raw this week, honestly, with the help from Mizdow, I'll just give it a 6 out of 10. That's stretching it.
I'm also gonna go 6.5 just because of the Dean promo, but it was not a great take home. Excitement for TLC out of 1 to 10. Where you at?
Honestly, I wasn't too excited for it at first, but the more I thought about it, I'm gonna be giving that probably a 7.5 out of 10.
A 7.5.
Hopefully their performance changes that. Maybe it'll be a lot better afterwards.
I'm going to give it... You know what? I'm going to agree with the 7.5. I was almost going to give it an 8, but I'm not so sure how it's going to be, but I am excited for it. Okay, excitement level for TakeOver?
TakeOver, I am going to give that also the 7.5 out of 10. Maybe, no, you know what? With the debut of Baylor and then the anticipation of Corey Graves, I'm going to go ahead and give that an 8. Plus, I love Sami Zayn's matches.
I do too. And speaking of Sami, make sure, if you haven't already, Google El Generico, his old indie character, with who we keep calling Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens. Google El Generico Kevin Steen, and there are a whole bunch of feuds, a few times where they team together. They have a great, great storyline just to give you something to get excited for. That's what gets me so excited for it. I'm giving it an 8.5. I think it's going to be a stellar pay-per-view. I don't really think they can mess this up, though we'll have to see which alumni they bring and make that person a bigger deal than NXT, which is always a personal gripe with me.
Right.
But altogether, it's going to be a great pay-per-view. Thank you for joining us once again on Mark Madness with the Rawcast. We have more coming up store. Make sure you share us. Will, you want to say your goodbyes?
Oh, I will say my goodbye. Right here, follow me on Twitter, be sure you let us know anything you want us to talk about next week, or maybe just give you a shout out. Let us know. We'll answer your comments.
Yep, thanks once again, and as it said, welp, see you later.